In the pantheon of Hollywood legends, few possessed the raw, kinetic energy of Gene Kelly. While the Golden Age was filled with song and dance men, Kelly brought something entirely different to the table, an unapologetic, blue-collar athleticism that transformed the very DNA of the movie musical. He didn't just dance, he attacked the floor with a gymnast's precision and a football player's strength. In masterpieces like Singin' in the Rain and On the Town, Kelly functioned as more than just a performer. He was a visionary architect of the frame. Working alongside directors like Stanley Donen, he insisted that the camera itself should dance, moving in perfect synchronization with the performers to create a sense of three-dimensional immersion that had never been seen before. Beyond the technical innovations, Kelly's screen presence was defined by a sunny, muscular optimism. He was the quintessential American hoofer, often performing in loafers and white socks rather than the formal top hat and tails of his predecessors. This approachability made his immense talent feel grounded and relatable. Whether he was splashing through puddles in a rain-soaked street or performing a high-stakes ballet, his grace was always balanced by a grit that suggested he was a man of the people. His influence is felt in every modern dance sequence today, as he was the one who proved that dance could be both high art and high-octane entertainment. He didn't just move across the stage, he moved the entire industry forward, ensuring that the musical genre was not just a stage play on film, but a unique, cinematic experience that celebrated the sheer joy of movement and the limitless possibilities of the human body. If the golden age of Hollywood had a heartbeat, it was often found in the smoky, shadowed corridors of the film noir, and no one inhabited that world with more effortless gravity than Robert Mitchum. Rising to prominence in the 1940s, Mitchum became the definitive face of the cinematic anti-hero. He possessed a physical presence that was both heavy and hypnotic, with his sleepy, heavy-lidded eyes and a deep, resonant voice that seemed to vibrate from his chest. He didn't need to shout to command a room. In seminal works like The Night of the Hunter, Cape Fear, and Out of the Past, he cultivated a persona that was dangerously calm, moving through scenes with a nonchalance that bordered on the supernatural. He was the man who had seen it all and expected the worst, yet remained utterly unshakable. What truly set Mitchum apart from his contemporaries was his refusal to take the craft of acting with the self-serious intensity of the method crowd. To hear Mitchum tell it, acting was easy as pie. A job that required showing up on time and knowing one's lines. Yet this self-deprecating attitude masked a sophisticated technical skill. He was a master of accents and had an uncanny ability to convey complex internal dialogues through the slightest shift in his gaze. While other actors labored over their motivations, Mitchum delivered performances of sublime naturalism that felt lived in rather than practiced. He was the cool center of the Hollywood storm, a man who represented a rugged, weary masculinity that resonated with audiences of the post-war era. His legacy is one of pure, unadulterated charisma. He proved that sometimes the most powerful thing an actor can do is simply exist within the frame, letting the audience project their own fears and desires onto his inscrutable, iconic face. Henry Fonda was the quiet conscience of the American cinema, an actor whose career spanned half a century without ever losing its fundamental integrity. While many of his peers relied on theatrical bravado, Fonda's power lay in his stillness. He possessed a lean, upright carriage and a steady gaze that suggested a man who could not be moved by the winds of corruption. Whether he was portraying the dispossessed Tom Joad in The Grapes of Wrath or the lone dissenting voice in 12 Angry Men, Fonda became the living embodiment of the everyman as a moral hero. He was the actor we trusted to do the right thing when the world turned dark. His performances were masterclasses in economy. He understood that a well-timed pause or a subtle furrow of the brow could communicate more than a page of dialogue. His longevity was as remarkable as his talent. While other leading men of the 1930s struggled to adapt to the changing landscape of the 1960s and 70s, Fonda matured into a statesman of the screen. He moved seamlessly between the rugged westerns of John Ford and the tense courtroom dramas of Sidney Lumet, always bringing a sense of lived-in authority to his roles. Even his late career turn as a cold-blooded villain in Once Upon a Time in the West worked precisely because it played against the decades of decency he had established. Off-screen, he founded an acting dynasty, passing his torch to his children, Jane and Peter. But his own legend remains singular. Henry Fonda didn't just play characters. He represented the American ideal of justice, a quiet, unwavering light that refused to be extinguished by prejudice or time. When we speak of rhythm, grace, and the sheer mathematical perfection of movement, only one name stands at the summit: Fred Astaire. Born at the turn of the century, Astaire didn't just dominate the musical film genre during the 1930s. He fundamentally reshaped how the human body was captured on celluloid. His legendary partnership with Ginger Rogers produced some of the most transcendent moments in cinema history, but his genius extended far beyond the choreography itself. Astaire was a revolutionary technician who famously demanded that his dance routines be filmed in long, wide-angle shots with minimal cuts. He believed that the audience should see the dancer's full silhouette from head to toe, ensuring that the magic was never a product of clever editing, but of pure, unadulterated skill. Despite his effortless appearance on screen, Astaire was a notorious perfectionist, often rehearsing single sequences for weeks until his feet literally bled. This obsession with detail resulted in a style that felt like elegance in orbit, a mixture of high society sophistication and a playful improvisational wit. Off-screen, he was a deeply private and modest man, yet he was widely regarded as the best-dressed man in Hollywood, possessing a flair that matched his on-screen charisma. He had the unique ability to make the most complex tap routines look as natural as walking down the street. Astaire's influence on the medium cannot be overstated. He took the matinee idol archetype and gave it wings, proving that a leading man could be both incredibly masculine and breathtakingly delicate. To watch Fred Astaire was to watch a master who had conquered gravity, turning the silver screen into a playground of infinite grace. In the history of the studio system, there were many stars, but there was only one king. Clark Gable held a singular grip on the American imagination for over 3 decades, possessing a rugged, earthbound masculinity that felt entirely modern compared to the polished idols of the silent era. With his signature mustache, broad shoulders, and a mischievous glint in his eye, Gable was the ultimate alpha male who didn't take himself too seriously. While he is immortalized as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, his true brilliance often shone in his collaborations with stars like Joan Crawford and Myrna Loy. He had a devastating sexual magnetism that was perfectly balanced by a boyish, almost rascally charm, a combination that allowed him to be both the intimidating hero and the comedic foil with equal ease. Gable's appeal was rooted in a sense of genuine authenticity. He looked like a man who had worked with his hands before he ever stepped in front of a camera. This man's man persona made him a titan at the box office, but it was his work in romantic comedies like It Happened One Night that cemented his legend. In that film, he dismantled the traditional leading man tropes, trading formal stoicism for fast-talking wit and a shirt-off-his-back vulnerability that captivated audiences. He aged with a grace that few others could match, maintaining his status as a top-billed leading man well into his 50s. Gable wasn't just a movie star, he was a cultural force who defined the mid-century American male, tough but tender, cynical but romantic, and always possessing a blinding charisma that could command any room. Marlon Brando did not just change the way we look at actors, he shattered the foundation of performance itself. When Time magazine later named him the actor of the century, it was a recognition of a seismic shift that began the moment he appeared on screen with a raw, mumbling, and visceral intensity that Hollywood had never encountered. Before Brando, acting was often a series of practiced gestures and theatrical elocution. Brando brought the method into the mainstream, introducing a style that felt dangerous, unpredictable, and hauntingly real. In his early triumphs like A Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront, he delivered lines with a psychological depth that made the audience feel like they were intruding on a private moment of soul-bearing agony. His career trajectory was as volatile as his talent. After a decade of professional decline in the 1960s, where many thought his star had faded, he orchestrated the greatest comeback in cinematic history. By transforming into the aging patriarch Vito Corleone in The Godfather and the haunting Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now, he proved that he was still the most formidable force in the industry. Brando's power lay in his ability to inhabit the contradictions of humanity. He could be terrifyingly violent one moment and heartbreakingly tender the next. He demanded that the audience look past the glamorous veneer of Hollywood to see the grit and the truth beneath. He remains the North Star for every actor who has followed him, the man who proved that the most powerful tool in cinema isn't the script or the lighting, but the raw, unvarnished human spirit. Often described as the actor's actor, Spencer Tracy possessed a talent so natural that it often went unnoticed by the untrained eye. He was a man who famously claimed that his technique consisted simply of knowing your lines and not bumping into the furniture. Yet his peers, including giants like Humphrey Bogart and Laurence Olivier, widely considered him the greatest master of the craft. Tracy's versatility was boundless. He could disappear into the role of a rugged fisherman, a stern judge, or a harried father with a deceptive simplicity that made it look effortless. In films ranging from the tense Bad Day at Black Rock to the sophisticated Woman of the Year, he anchored every scene with a grounded, unshakable reality. What truly immortalized Tracy in the hearts of filmgoers was his legendary on-screen and off-screen partnership with Katharine Hepburn. The 9 films they made together are masterclasses in chemistry, showcasing a sophisticated battle of the sexes, where Tracy's stoic, deadpan delivery perfectly balanced Hepburn's high-energy intellect. Despite his internal struggles and a frequent downplaying of his own profession, Tracy's preparation was meticulous. He had the rare ability to listen on screen, to truly react to his co-stars in a way that felt spontaneous and alive. He didn't rely on movie star tricks or vanity. Instead, he relied on an innate understanding of human nature. He remains the gold standard for naturalism in cinema, proving that the most profound acting isn't about the show, but about the truth found in the quietest moments of a performance. If there is one name that defines the word debonair, it is Cary Grant. He was Hollywood's most successful self-invention, a former acrobat named Archibald Leach, who transformed himself into the ultimate symbol of masculine elegance. Grant's genius lay in his ability to be a chameleon in a tuxedo. He was equally at home in the high-stakes suspense of Alfred Hitchcock's thrillers as he was in the frantic, physical world of screwball comedy. In films like North by Northwest and The Philadelphia Story, he displayed a razor-sharp wit and a physical grace that made him the envy of every man and the desire of every woman. Yet, beneath the polished exterior, Grant possessed a brilliant sense of timing that allowed him to play the fool, often using slapstick comedy to humanize his perfect looks. What made Grant truly unique was his longevity and his refusal to be pigeonholed. Whether he was playing a cynical reporter in His Girl Friday or a romantic lead in An Affair to Remember, he maintained a core essence that felt both aspirational and accessible. He worked with the industry's greatest directors, specifically becoming the definitive Hitchcockian lead, a man caught in extraordinary circumstances who never lost his cool. Off-screen, he was known for his sharp business mind and a relentless commitment to his persona, famously remarking, "Everyone wants to be Cary Grant. Even I want to be Cary Grant." He was the bridge between the old-world sophistication of the early talkies and the modern, fast-paced energy of the 1960s. By the time he retired, he had left behind a body of work that proved true. Stardom isn't just about acting. It's about a timeless, effortless style that never goes out of fashion. James Stewart possessed perhaps the most distinctive and beloved voice in the history of the silver screen, a hesitant, melodic drawl that immediately established a sense of trust with the audience. But to view Stewart merely as a charming, aw-shucks personality would be a grave mistake. He was a force of nature who epitomized the American spirit, a man of quiet decency who could be pushed to heights of volcanic intensity when his principles were threatened. In his early collaborations with Frank Capra, such as Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and the perennial It's a Wonderful Life, he became the symbol of the individual's struggle against systemic corruption and despair. He played the everyman better than anyone because he allowed the audience to see the vulnerability and the doubt beneath the surface of his heroism. As his career progressed, particularly after his decorated service as a bomber pilot in World War II, Stewart's performances took on a darker, more complex edge. His work with Alfred Hitchcock in films like Rear Window and Vertigo revealed a man haunted by obsession and psychological frailty, proving he could navigate the murky waters of the human subconscious with chilling precision. He was a master of the slow burn, building tension until it boiled over in moments of desperate, raw emotion. Despite his immense fame, Stewart remained remarkably grounded, often being described as the same man off-camera as he was on. He represented the bridge between the innocence of pre-war America and the disillusioned complexity of the post-war era. To watch Jimmy Stewart was to watch the evolution of the American soul, persevering, flawed, but ultimately guided by a persistent, ordinary kindness that refused to give up on the world. Humphrey Bogart, or Bogey, remains the definitive icon of the Golden Age, yet he was perhaps the most unlikely leading man in Hollywood history. He wasn't classically handsome like Cary Grant, nor was he tall or particularly athletic. He possessed a scarred lip, a slight lisp, and a weary, cynical face that looked as though it had seen too many late nights and too much rain. Yet it was precisely this lack of traditional polish that made him the most relatable and enduring star of his era. Bogart was the patron saint of the tough guy with a soul, a man who hid a deep-seated romanticism behind a layer of stone-cold pragmatism. In the immortal Casablanca, he defined the archetype of the noble outcast, the man who would sacrifice his own happiness for a cause greater than himself. His path to the top was a slow burn, spent playing second-rate gangsters before the Maltese Falcon, and High Sierra catapulted him into the stratosphere. Once there, he became the face of film noir, his trench coat and fedora becoming the unofficial uniform of the genre. Whether he was playing the hard-boiled detective Sam Spade or the rugged boat captain in The African Queen, for which he won an Oscar, Bogart brought an undeniable authenticity to every frame. His off-screen life, including his legendary marriage to Lauren Bacall and his founding of the Rat Pack, only added to his mystique. He didn't just play characters, he created a philosophy of survival in a world that was often cruel and indifferent. Bogart proved that true greatness isn't about fitting a mold. It's about having the character, the grit, and the integrity to stand alone. Decades after his passing, he remains the undisputed king of the silver screen, the ultimate symbol of cool, and the greatest classic Hollywood actor of all time.